Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of State of the Jungle with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host. Can you guess my name? Malik Wright. Joined by my co-host, as always, we've got Evan, we've got Logan. We got some sort of the crew back together, but we also have a nice little show planned for you guys. As always, before we jump into it, make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content from the First Star Logistics studio. We have content going out on this channel every single day. And remember, as well as the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, every single time we go live or upload content, it's also simulcasted on the First Star Media Group. So if you want to catch In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, or yours truly, State of the Jungle, and my various different takes and videos that I do throughout the week, subscribe to the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, including the Sit Down Malik Wright's YouTube channel. But boys, this was a little bit of an eventful week for Bengals Nation, not in the sense that there was a lot going on, but a certain someone who's usually pretty quiet, who you don't really see too much of unless they're walking with their back out in Paris. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was in the media a lot, saying a lot of different stuff, talking about how he was going to make people remember, give them something to talk about. Uh, he got ridiculed a little bit by some people for his answering of the question of the 18 in NFL game proposal. Um, and I kind of want to get into all that kind of stuff with you guys. Make sure you guys get this video, like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. But let's talk about Joe Burrow's comments. Let's talk about Joe Burrow's comments of talking about how he wants to give people something to talk about this season. Now, that could be perceived as cocky. That could be perceived as confident. Me, I think it's confident. I think it's a guy that has a chip on his shoulder, a guy that wants to prove to everybody that, hey, I'm still that guy. I'm still that guy, pal. I'm still the guy that can lead a team to a Super Bowl, to an AFC championship, that can beat the Kansas City Chiefs, that can win the AFC North when healthy. And I think that a lot of people have been making some egregious errors, egregious takes about his confidence and him having that chip on his shoulder. So I want to hear from you guys. I've been talking a lot throughout this week. Logan, you're back on the show, man.
I am
You
indeed.
were in Baseballvilles and doing a bunch of
I
stuff.
was.
So I kind of want to get your opinion first. Then we're gonna go to Evan. Then I'm gonna touch a little more on it. So Logan, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Enjoyed my little baseball run, but I'm glad to be back here talking about Joe Burrow. And there's not many things that are better to talk about. It's nice to kind of see him, continue to get out there more and just kind of just express himself and just it's just nice. He's an interesting dude. He's a very interesting dude. But in regards to his comments, I think it's no problem with it. It's everything you want to hear from your quarterback. You don't want him to go out there and say anything other than that he's going to be the best, that he's going to give you guys things to talk about, because that's exactly what we expect from him. And his comments, reign pretty true. He talked about how, when you're not out there constantly doing it all the time, people forget about you and people might not remember how good you are. And I couldn't stand by that statement more than anything. Recency bias is always going to be a thing. It's always, what have you done for me lately? That's just how the world is nowadays. I have no problem with him saying that at all whatsoever. It's exactly the kind of guy he is. It's exactly the kind of guy we want him to be. It's exactly the kind of guy we need him to be. The city has thrived off of that energy since the moment he's walked into the city, since weeks before when we kind of assumed he'd be the guy. I would be more concerned if he wasn't saying those things. So to wrap it all up, Joe Burrow, I'm glad he's still the Joe Burrow we know he is. Now I just can't. We just see him do it on the field.
Yeah, you pretty much said it all there. This is a guy who we know the injury, and like he said, being off the field, people stop talking about you. You're not at the forefront of people's minds and conversations, and like you said, recency bias, where
Yeah.
people will forget about you. But this is also a guy who was PFF's highest graded passer 2 out of the last 3 seasons, with one of those obviously being due to injury, right? So it's funny how quickly he's fallen out of kind of that top 3 conversation, where after going to back-to-back AFC championships, like, people were talking, okay, yeah, he's probably number 3 or
Yeah.
2, depending on where you want to put him, right? With Pat Mahomes, with Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, definitely in that top 5 conversation. But even now, like, it seems people want to put other people like Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott into this.
Mhm.
And I think people are just, no disrespect to those players at all, but I do think that people are kind of forgetting what peak Joe Burrow is and how good he looks. And I feel like some of the
Mhm.
narratives have kind of gotten out of control, and you're not necessarily um, people aren't speaking from a place of truth in a lot of different instances when they're talking about Joe Burrow in a negative light, because this is a guy who was one of the most accurate passers that we've ever seen at almost every single level of the field, right? This is a guy who was able to adjust how he played from first year to taking deep shots constantly behind a terrible offensive line that was patchwork, is probably putting it really really
Really nice.
mildly, and really nicely. Yeah, and he completely altered kind of how he was playing, as Jamar Chase and T Higgins are both taking turns going out, and he's throwing to guys like Tanner Hudson and Trent Irwin, and just finding ways to make plays even without his weapons. So yeah, he's constantly showed again and again that you can trust him. He's one of those kind of 3 to 5 top elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think he's just looking forward to the opportunity to be on the field and remind everybody that, hey, I am that guy and I belong in that conversation.
So, I want to pay respect to one of my favorite artists growing up, who has an album coming out this Friday, an Eminem. So I think it's called The Death of Slim Shady or something like that. I don't know exactly the name of the album, but Evan, you'll appreciate this. It's nowadays everybody want to talk like they got something to say, but nothing comes out when they move their lips, just a bunch of gibberish. Something like they forgot about, but I'll say Joe, right? That was really, really corny and really, really bad of me, but I thought I was going somewhere with that. I thought that was pretty cool. Um, the point of me saying that is, what's wrong with confidence? What's wrong with confidence? Why does confidence scare people? Why do people take confidence as a bad thing? Or even if you call it cockiness, right? But I believe cockiness and confidence is a fine line between them, right? Some people think I'm cocky. No, in my business, in my sport, and what we do, we have to be confident in what we're doing. Could you imagine if I got up here and I said, or if I broke Bengals news and I said, sources kind of told me that, the Bengals might sign somebody, but I'm not positive if they're going to sign somebody. Would you take what I'm saying serious if I said, no, this is what my sources have been telling me. This is who the Bengals are interested in. This is who the Bengals are going to bring in for a visit. This is who the Bengals are going to sign, X, Y, Z, right? But somewhere along the line, people take it as, yo, you're cocky. You have what you say is you're being cocky, being full of yourself. You don't know. You don't sign the checks. And it's like in every sport, in every field professionally that you're in or non-professionally, whether you're working in corporate America or you work at a grocery store, you're going to want to be the best at what you do. You're going to speak with a certain level of confidence. You're going to be confident when people ask you about it, because you know what? Confidence comes from knowing. If I know I'm the best goddamn grocery bagger in a ShopRite or a Kroger's, guess what? I'm not going to let somebody come in here and tell me that I'm not. I'm going to speak with confidence. I'm going to speak with a certain authority and tell them, hey, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this X, Y, Z. For me, I don't think Joe Burrow's comments were cocky, because you know what? At least growing up, you see some of the greats. You see Tom Brady. You see guys like Peyton Manning. You want to see that from your leader. You don't want a quarterback or someone that is the quote unquote leader of your football team, of your organization, as the CEO of your organization, essentially being meek or very, very, scared, or, walking a fine line of who they might upset or who they might offend. The simple fact of the matter is Joe Burrow's a confident guy. Joe Burrow was confident since he got to the University of LSU. Joe Burrow's confidence grew after he had the historic season he was the number 1 overall pick. His first full season after tearing his ACL with the Cincinnati Bengals, he led them to a Super Bowl with a patchwork offensive line. The second year he led them to the AFC Championship with a patchwork offensive line. The next year after that, he tears ligaments in his wrist. So he's coming back again, feeling stronger, feeling healthy, built more muscle, more confident in who he is. You're damn right he's earned the right to be I guess confident, or hell, you want to call it cocky? Let's call it cocky. Here's another thing that what's been going around. People have been saying, and this is still on that this topic, if you will. People have been saying Joe Burrow is overrated. I just have a question for you. Do we know what the term overrated is? Evan, do me a favor. You're our great, researcher here. Can you look up the term overrated and kind of spin that for the people what the term overrated is, please, if you could?
Rated higher than they should be.
Right. Okay. There we go. Rated higher than they should be. But I think even in nowadays, the term is used in a different realm as well. I think people say, oh, you're overrated because maybe you're not living up to your expectations, or maybe people are pushing you up more of a pedestal than what you should be. Whatever said terminology you want to throw in there, people have been throwing that in there. Joe Burrow's overrated. What product that Joe Burrow, since being healthy for the Cincinnati Bengals, has he proven to people that he's overrated? I'll wait. Do you guys know?
Mhm.
Has he? So I think the fact that, yes, his injuries have been a concern, but when he's been out there, he has led his team to an AFC championship. He has led his team to a Super Bowl. They have put out high potent offenses. I get it. The offense hasn't always necessarily performed up to the best of standards. And, I've talked at a nauseating pace as to why I think that might be the case. But nothing about Joe Burrow's game has screamed overrated. Trust me, if he was overrated, I would say it. And you're saying, oh, Malik, you just live in Cincinnati. You cover the best. I'm a goddamn Celtics fan. I'm the guy that's saying Jason Tatum is overrated. I have no problem with calling an athlete on my team out for being said overrated or being too brash or being too cocky. I just don't see that when I see Joe Burrow. I see a guy that's obsessed with perfection. I see a guy that wants to be successful. And you know what I think? I think confidence scares people. I think confidence makes people uncomfortable. I think people are not confident in their own skin. So you know what? They say, oh, when that guy gets too hyped or gets too whatever, we need to knock him down a couple of pegs. I feel that. I that's what I think it is when it comes to Joe Burrow. I don't think Joe Burrow has done anything to warrant that tag that he's been getting of overrated or not living up to potential. Everything that this guy has shown you has been, hey, I'm that guy, pal. I've been that guy, pal. It's the reason why the team drafted me with the first overall pick. It's the reason why they gave me the contract extension, making me the highest paid player, quarterback in the National Football League. He's deserving of it. He's shown what he could do. People were trying to convince this guy, hey, you know what? Joe Burrow shouldn't even come to Cincinnati before he should pull a Eli Manning. Those are all the things people were saying. Yet still, we push guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Justin Herbert over Joe Burrow off of what? Because they throw the ball 50 times a game? Because that's their scheme. That's their offensive scheme. And maybe it's a more pleasing style of football compared to the Joe Burrow, play action, the whole. I have no idea. I don't know why we move the goalpost so much when it comes to Joe Burrow. But for me, I just think that it's not always an even playing field. I understand people might get tired of Joe Shiesty or Joe Cool or all the media hype attention. The guy's marketable. That's not his fault that he has I don't even know if he has a personality, I'll say that, but it's not his fault that people flock to him. It's not his fault that people find his post-game and pre-game attire appealing. It's not his fault that, women flock to him. That's not his fault. But people seem to be so over the Joe Burrow discussion. And, it's like, oh, Joe Burrow can't be this until he wins a ring. Like that's sort of the notion that a lot of people, the Weird Hill people die on. But don't let that confuse you. Not winning a ring versus actually performing at a high level, competing at a high level, being the only quarterback in the National Football League that has been able to knock Patrick Mahomes out of the playoffs. Josh Allen ain't able to do that, right? He was the savior. Everybody's like, oh, Josh Allen's only going to break through this year. I was one of those people who thought last year Josh Allen could have broke through. Then you wanted Tua. They wanted to say Tua. Then they want to say Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs. Great. Lamar Jackson's a fantastic quarterback. But football is still a team sport at the end of the day. And listen, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. The numbers say when Joe Burrow is on the football field, he's healthy. He has the Bengals either in the AFC Championship or going further. Now this year, we'll see what happens. But we know when the Bengals get in the playoffs, they're making a deep run. You couldn't always say that before about the Bengals in the past. You draft a guy like Joe Burrow, transcends the franchise. It changes things. Those are just my thoughts. You guys have anything else that you want to add on? I know I've been talking a little bit. Logan, I want to hear more from you. What are your thoughts? I've said a lot. I've kind of spitballed all my thoughts on this whole Joe Burrow is overrated thing, or Joe Burrow is, full of himself, or Joe Burrow is cocky. What else you got to say?
I think the thing with the overrated and, it goes back to what I said earlier about the what have you done for me lately stuff. I think when somebody who, has been so good when he's on the field is no longer, he also wasn't too great all the time last year when he was healthy, and then he kind of got going again, and then he got hurt again. I think when you have a year like that, and then you have several breakout years at the quarterback position, you had the CJ Stroud year, you had Jared Goff had a great year, Jordan Love had a great year. You have all these guys that are kind of took steps or took leaps that Joe Burrow wasn't necessarily able to continue to do because of the injury, but he still have already done more things than these people have. So I think that's where the line needs to be drawn. I think when you really try to nitpick Joe Burrow, everybody kind of talks about he didn't do too good in the playoff runs. He did, the defense carried him and all that stuff, which, is an argument within its own self. But Joe Burrow is fantastic. There's perks to winning games. There's different ways to win games. There's perks to consistently being in the playoffs. There's perks to consistently winning in the playoffs. And the the common denominator for the Bengals has been Joe Burrow when it comes to playoff success and just team success in general. So like there's just simply not too many things you can argue. He performs, the team makes runs, he puts up numbers. There's just not anything that you can really truly say that warrant him not being in the top 3 to 5 quarterback in the National Football League.
Yeah, I mean that's said as simply as you can say it. Injuries is probably the only thing you could say, and that's not even. I've talked previously about how not all injuries are created equal, right? Where people who have soft tissue injuries are more prone to having them recurring versus like, hey, if you just fall the wrong way and break your hand or break your arm, or someone rolls into you and then you sprain your ankle, is that injury prone? Because anybody who has a 300-pound man roll into their ankle is probably going to sprain it, right? Like that's I can't believe Trey Hendrickson didn't get hurt on that one play where the Texans at the end of the game, like you just get hit one way the wrong way and suddenly you're hurt. So I don't really hold that against him. I don't see like, oh, this is constantly he has some sort of hamstring or groin or calf injury that is recurring year over year and getting worse. So really, like you said, when he's on the field, he's playing great. You got a winning record against Kansas City, Buffalo Bills, two of the mainstays in the AFC and the top contenders for the last couple of years. It's definitely been working through the kinks. And if you want to say like, oh, he's had the greatest supporting cast because T. Higgins and Jamar Chase were there, well, like, dude was getting absolutely demolished behind that offensive line when he was playing behind for 2 years, just getting destroyed. So like, you can say, he had a good wide receiver or two, but like the entire rest of the offense was like, what?
Not good.
Right. Where, Joe Mixon was a good, steady veteran back to have. And the tight ends were just fine. They were fine. They weren't like helping you. They weren't a plus weapon that's going out there signing for a whole bunch of money. So again, just because he had one or two good receivers, people like to discount him and say, oh, he's had the best supporting cast when, like, again, go look at that offensive line from that Super Bowl run. Look at each single game where I think it was like 3 or 4 straight weeks they had different lineups because of multiple injuries just kept happening. And it's like, Aaron Donald destroyed the 8th, 9th best offensive lineman that they had that year. Yeah, absolutely. He got him. And this is not to discredit Aaron Donald. It's just to discredit the narrative of like, hey, Joe Burrow's just had it super easy. Like, are people either you respect Joe Burrow and what he's done, or you think Zach Taylor is one of the best head coaches / offensive coordinator, designer geniuses in the NFL to make him look good. When if you just open your eyes and watch the game, it's not scheme that is getting a lot of these buckets. It's tight window throws by Joe Burrow. It's eluding this pressure, creating outside of structure. That's the stuff that lets you know, hey, that's Joe Burrow hitting these sweet hole, like cover 3 hole shots, cover 2 hole shots, like the tough shit with the safety coming down bearing over the top, like trying to make a play on that ball. Like you have to have special touch, rhythm, timing, anticipation, all that to be able to do that, not just with your top receivers, but your backups. We see how chemistry gets killed with guys all the time. And it's because Joe Burrow knows how to get the most out of players, knows how to get the best from his receivers, and knows how to place the ball. So he's not even just accurate, he's accurate plus. It's not just completing the pass. It's putting the pass where the defender can't get it. Putting the pass where your wide receiver doesn't get smoked going over the middle by the linebacker. It's just reading leverage. It's all the small things that really make you an elite quarterback.
I love the way you put that. I thought that was so beautifully said. You said you talked about Joe Burrow, and the overrated comments people have been making, and you were saying, show me where. Essentially, that's kind of the notion we all have. We have a guy in the comment section. Aaron Butler says Joe has never led a top 5 offense. The defense carried you. I want to save my voice. I want to save my voice because the next topic that we want to talk about is the overreaction of Joe Burrow is the overreaction of the whole 18 game proposal. But before we answer our good friend Aaron Butler, who I like to think you're a troll in the comment section, and as always, I got time today. We'll talk about some trolls. Let's do it. Make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content live from the First Star Logistics Studio. Remember, this show, our show, always simulcasted on the First Star Media Group YouTube channel. including the Sit Down Malik Wright's YouTube channel on the First Start Media Group YouTube channel. You can catch In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry, and you can catch this guy every single Wednesday night with the State of the Jungle crew. Evan, take it away.
2022, the Bengals were ranked 4th in EPA per play. So top 5.
Mhm.
That's there. And if you want to look at, again, if we want to go, okay, we're talking about Joe Burrow though. So why are we talking about the whole of the offense, right? We're talking about the run game, everything else with the Bengals run game has been relatively poor and not very successful in terms of getting yardage needed to constitute a success. So that's bringing that number down even more. So that's something to consider. It's also something to consider that, again, we're talking about Joe Burrow. Why are we talking about the whole offense? Let's look just at Joe Burrow and isolate the quarterback play alone without the results that the wide receivers do, just based on accuracy, avoiding sacks, creating plays, that kind of stuff, right? Joe Burrow has been the number 1 passer in PFF passing grade 2 out of the last 3 seasons. And one of those seasons he was hurt. So again, one of the best metrics at isolating only quarterback play, and doesn't give them bonus points for, hey, he threw a screen to Jamar Chase and Jamar Chase ran for 80 yards and a touchdown. That's not a +2 for Joe Burrow. That is an expected play. That's 0. He doesn't get anything for that. Jamar Chase gets a big bonus, right? So yeah, we look at one of the best isolating metrics for quarterback play, and Joe Burrow is number 1 in 2 out of the last 2 seasons that he's been healthy and played. So I think that says it all.
And he's definitely a Ravens fan. He says he says Chuck, while Ravens have had great defenses, Lamar has led to the number 1 offense 2019, number 7 offense 2020, number 4 offense 2023. And let me know when you guys have had an AFC championship or a Super Bowl appearance. Thank you very much. On to the next topic.
Talking about an offense from 5 years ago.
Yeah,
that must be that's an
crazy.
eternity
And
in
the
the
total
NFL.
yards
Jeez.
is so stupid.
I'm sorry. I'd rather
Your defense is that good.
I'd rather turn in an offense or a team rather that makes it to an AFC championship that gives them a fighting chance to make it to a Super Bowl and in Super Bowl appearance over quarterback winning MVPs. That's just me though. Maybe I'm just different because the last I checked, MVPs are regular season awards along with top offenses regular season awards, because those top offenses don't necessarily translate to top offenses in the playoffs, which is why
and they were 9th in EPA per play. So instead of total yards, which has a lot of influence on how many attempts you get. Yeah.
I mean, I think our buddy Aaron Butler is getting cooked in the comment section today. And it's like, we got time. You see what happens when the State of the Jungle gets back together. But anyway, let's keep it going. Next topic. Joe Burrow has gotten a lot of criticism from retired backup quarterbacks in the National Football League, and people like saying that, hey, Joe Burrow's comments about his proposal for what an 18 game NFL season will look like would piss, NFLPA players alike off. And I think that's the terminology was used. He put a target on his back or something like that, something stupid like that. Very similar to those Bart Scott comments. Let me just say this first and foremost. And this goes to Chase Daniels.
He said, I guarantee you every NFL player seeing this is not happy with Burrow.
Yeah.
Which
well, let's talk facts for a second. Yeah. The NFL is going to go to an 18 game season. It's the inevitable. The NFL has not hid that. Mike Florio, who I know everybody doesn't like in Cincinnati, but he's reported it as well. Majority of people have reported it. That's what the NFL wants to go to, which is why they've sort of eased it up with 1 game this time, around 17 games. And now they're going to 18. It's the ideal fit, what they want. The NFL is making a lot of money. They want to expand internationally. How do you do that? You put more asses in seats. How do you do that? You expand the season. You get more games, right? There was always going to be some give and take with them doing away with preseason. They weren't going to automatically shorten their season, right? And not make preseason, because let's face it, preseason was still profitable for them. They were still making something out of it. But with them taking away those games, they have to they have to find a way to sort of replace those things. So that's why you see the NFL talking about this 18 game thing. It's going to happen. It's the inevitable. It doesn't matter if I like it, you like it, Chase Daniel likes it, Joe Burrow likes it, Logan likes it, Evan likes it. It does not matter who likes it. The NFL is going to go to that at some point. So don't you think it probably is smart to probably, I guess, start talking about the eventuality of it, because you don't think the league's execs, you don't think people in front offices are already talking about what an 18 game proposal is going to look like. By the way, let me also add, there's no world in which they add an 18th game and they don't add another bye. They have to add another bye week. It just makes the most sense. You have to, because these guys are putting a lot on they're but putting their bodies on the line. They're putting a lot on the line, and you have to make it work for them. So the NFL is going to go to an 18 game schedule. To tiptoeing around it, acting like it doesn't exist, is like Drake avoiding Kendrick Lamar for years. Like that's not that. Like, it's going to happen eventually. It's going to happen. It's one of those things you just have to be in alignment with. So, Logan, what are your thoughts on the whole comments?
Yeah, I mean, just the only thing that really matters is what Malik just alluded to. The 18 game season or whatever it's inevitable. It's just inevitable. It's not like Joe Burrow's up there like, hey man, I don't play 18 games. I want no bye weeks. I want nothing. I want this, that. That is just completely out of left field. He was asked a question about a topic that is, again, inevitable. It's going to happen. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, maybe not the year after that, but it's going to happen. So yeah, when you get asked a question that is totally relevant, has total logical pathway of thinking, that is going to happen at some time, he's going to give an answer about it. And it also helps that the answer he gave was also a pretty damn good one. I think that the answer he gave makes so much sense. I don't even understand why you're acting, even trying to spin it in a negative way. I'd understand getting some hate for it if he just completely out of nowhere was like, I'm in favor of 18 game season, no more bye weeks, no extra nothing, none of that. But that's just so far from what actually happened. He talked about a topic that's inevitable. He gave a really, 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 really good, well thought out answer to the question that makes a shit ton of sense. What else do you want the guy to do? Like, there's nothing to really be bitching about.
Yeah, no, if you're asked in an interview, hey, what do you think about an 18 game season? I sincerely doubt that Chase Daniel, if he was on a podcast like with The Athletic, which I think he does now, if he was doing that when he was still a backup quarterback, I sincerely doubt that Chase Daniel would have just gone, hey, I can't talk on the record about an 18 game season. Ask me about something else.
Yeah.
I'm going to plead the Fifth Amendment and not talk about my fucking ass, dude.
Right.
Like, you would have just answered the question because you're getting asked about a hypothetical. You're getting asked like, hey, would you rather play on turf or grass or turf? And then he says, oh yeah, turf or whatever. And then all of a sudden quotes we can go, oh, Chase Daniel said he likes turf better than grass. The NFL loses leverage. My ass. Like, the NFL is going to pull up in a meeting with the NFLPA like, hey, yeah, no, you guys would have had this deal done, but remember Joe Burrow was asked a question on PMT's podcast months ago, and he answered that question. You lose leverage because of that. What the? Really?
Yeah, like Joe Burrow's wording is so impactful that it's going to literally change the trajectory that the league was already headed on. Whether Joe Burrow,
they're acting like he's president of the players union.
Right,
like, it's silly. It's just, you're on Barstool Sports podcast.
Right.
Like, seriously, man.
The most least serious place you can get.
The NFL doesn't even credential them. They don't recognize them as real media. They banned them from all events. They're not even allowed to do that, right? So it's like,
right, it's entertainment, not coverage. So, and the other thing too is 18 game season. Yeah, like, there has to be a bye week. But the other thing I want to touch on is that it's not even just the bye weeks, right? It's not even just adding a second bye week. It's about getting more schedule equality, because you have so many instances, even for the Bengals this year, where teams are coming off like 10-day rest while another team just played on Sunday and then plays on Thursday, or they ended up playing on Thursday and then they have to play again next Thursday, or they do some sort of back-to-back primetime games where they're getting 4 days of rest, 5 days of rest, and another team's coming with 10. And to kind of add evidence to that, Sharp Football Analytics pointed out that 4 teams play 5 or more games with more rest than their opponent, and multiple teams get to only play 1 such game. So there's 4 teams out there that have a significant advantage because they play 5 times more games than other teams where they have a rest advantage. And also, in 2024, there's 101 games played out of the 272 where a team has a rest advantage. It's the most in NFL history. So they're going in the wrong direction. And this is really this is the wear and tear that's getting all these nagging injuries that puts these guys at risk for longer term injuries. That's 37% of the schedule. Sure, there are going to be scheduling issues where, hey, you have problems where, yeah, one team's going to have better rest. That's just how it goes. But you can't tell me that 40% of the games need to have a rest advantage. You can figure that out, right? And it was 95 games in 2023. So again, it keeps going in the wrong direction in terms of rest advantage for the number of teams, for the number of games they have, for just all of this just wearing people down, all these primetime games they want to do on different days. Like, you need that. A week is barely, if anything, enough time to recover for an NFL game.
Yeah.
We see that grind wears on teams and on players. So, yeah, you absolutely have to put in a second bye week if you're doing 18, and someone, hopefully from the players union and hopefully the NFL, is like, hey, we're not just going to talk about being about player safety. We're going to actually do it. We're not going to sit up here and pontificate and say some bullshit just to sound good for a sign or for a sound bite. And then we're not going to do jack shit for player safety. Like, that's not, this is an easy way for them to be like, hey, we're about this and we're doing it. It would be a huge benefit to them. And all they got to do is, whoever does their scheduling, just figure out a little bit more on the programming side of trying to add a few parameters for just spitting out this schedule that is going to meet all this criteria. Because it's just silly that happens.
Yeah, they try too hard to, like, have good matchups, and I understand that. But year after year after year, there's so many primetime games that end up just being absolutely terrible because one of the teams is injured.
Dog water. You could say it.
Yeah. Whatever adjective you want to use to describe how bad it is. It's just like that stuff happens every year. Like, try to think if they really just, focused on that stuff and focused on the, making it more equal. People are going to watch the NFL. The matchups are going to be good. The matchups are going to be bad some weeks. That's how it is. But again, if they don't ever start to focus on the true player safety side of things, then none of these bigger problems are ever going to get fixed.
Yeah, to me, I just didn't understand the outcry.
No,
because it was definitely weird. It was definitely weird. It's like
he's acting like he brought it up, like, hey, what would be so great? What they should definitely do right now, and this is super important. Like, no, he's just asked about it.
Yeah, and I feel like, I hate to say it, but I wonder, is there any, like, back vendetta? Chase Daniel was the back quarterback for Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe there's a little bit of disdain there, dislike there for Joe Burrow being Joe Cool and Joe Shiesty, the whole 9 yards. All I gotta say, man, is what do you want from the guy? You want the guy to get on a show, not answer the question? You want the guy to just say, no, I don't really have a take on that. You know what I mean? Then you look at the guy as, oh, he's standoffish. He doesn't speak. He doesn't answer when people in the media are asking him questions. Let's be real here, guys. I want to remind everybody again, if you guys do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content live from the First Star Logistics studio. Every single time we go live or upload content, it's also simulcasted on the First Star Media Group YouTube channel, where you can catch Bengals on the Brain with Joe Goodberry and In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, as well as the sit down with Malik Wright each and every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Guys, yeah, I feel like this was. Let me ask you this: how do y'all feel about Joe Burrow talking more? Right? He says he's gonna. Me and Ev kind of talked about this last week, but how do you feel about Joe Burrow speaking more? Like, this is definitely a more vocal Joe Burrow, and I think he's very intentional with the shows that he does go on. And to be honest with you, do you think media in Cincinnati, I would say, should feel any kind of way? You think about it, the guy goes on, he'll do the PMT or whatever the case may be. Then he did the Nelk Boys, whatever the case may be, but he won't do things with like media in Cincinnati. Like, isn't that strange?
But on the other side of that, playing devil's advocate here, like, what would be the, like, oh, that is the show in Cincinnati this is the main absolute show. Like, I know you got
I didn't say anything.
We got our TWSN glasses on. I didn't say this is a quality show.
Listen,
folks,
I didn't say anything. I don't give a damn if the guy shows up on the show or not. That's just my honest opinion. This show is not to pander to one person. This show is for Bengals fans. That's why it's called State of the Jungle. It's to talk freely. It's because I ain't gonna hold no punches. I ain't gonna have nobody saying you can't say this. I'm gonna tell you like it is. If it's something I disagree with, I'm gonna tell you I disagree. If something I like, I'm gonna tell you I like it. If I don't like it, so it's not about that. I'm just saying. It does seem like he's very. I think there's a certain style of media in which he will do shows for, and I just wonder why.
I think it's just larger platforms. I think there's probably some brand deal partnerships that are tied up in that, because there's always those things where, hey, this is the Barstool live show presented by Dove, and Joe Burrow has a Dove contract, and so he does that, right? Or Kroger is part of the what's the larger company that owns Kroger? I can't remember. It's one of the, like, big five that's out there. Unilever. There we go. I think it's Unilever.
I did not know that.
Anyways,
You could have said anything.
That is something.
I'm pretty sure it's Unilever.
That is something that Evan would know.
But at the same time, it's like,
Unilever.
well, they
Unilever.
are through this other, like, Johnson and Johnson, and then this other thing, right? So it's like there's ways that things can be tangentially tied together. So like we don't always know those details. So there could be reasons like contractual obligations that he's doing.
Heitzman also, Matt Heitzman, our guy that's always in the comment section, he said if he went on one Cincy show, he'd have to do all of them, or someone will get their feelings hurt. I think that's a
that's
very
probably
fair
too, where he's like, hey, I don't want to show favoritism to anybody else.
But this is Cincinnati, though. Like this is the show. This is the city that everybody's like, oh, they don't even build a practice squad, a practice field, a practice bubble for their guys. Nobody wants to sign there. I think that let me just speak for this. I think Cincinnati has some kick-ass media members. I do. I think they have some members in the media that do a very, very good job interviewing Joe Burrow. But I also think that Joe Burrow's only interested in a certain style of meeting. I think that's probably not that in Cincinnati necessarily for him, right? What he's looking for, if you will. But I get it. It is what it is. But I just wanted to always pose that question to y'all because it is something that I've noticed. Like it isn't like, again, I don't tiptoe around certain topics. I'll talk about it.
Another thought too is like he doesn't like to do a lot of appearances, right? So maybe it's one way for him to just be like, hey, I'm going to do one show. It's going to hit a big national audience. It's going to help get light shown on our team, change the narrative. But I don't want to do a bunch of different shows.
I push back not on the different type of shows, but on doing multiple ones, because this is the same guy that did a thing with Colin Coward of all people, where he did the thing on the volume, where he met on him week after week. I'm just saying, like, I think showing a little love to the city wouldn't be a bad thing. Just wouldn't be a bad thing. And again, I love Joe. I think Joe's awesome. I really do. I just think that again, I think that showing a little love to the local media in Cincinnati, the people that cover your year round, wouldn't be a terrible thing. That's all I think.
I think he also might just look at it as like, look, these people in Cincinnati love me. Like I'm trying to, if you want to grow yourself and just grow more eyes on the team, the city, yourself, like you're gonna go hit people that you're gonna be seen more. Obviously those podcasts that he's been on are gonna be seen by hundreds of millions of people, to where if he does some here, the numbers aren't going to reach that. So I just think it's probably just personal preference, maybe, or maybe it's even just he likes these people. He was a fan of these people before he was famous. You know what I mean? It's just there's so many other.
Right. It could be wrong, guys. I'm getting a lot of feedback right now on the show. People hate this setup. People hate the setup right now. People are like, why are those two on top of each other? Why are you sitting at the desk?
I miss Logan, all right?
Yeah, right?
Like, get to see him.
Maybe, like,
everything.
I promise y'all, it wasn't a thing of where I have like I'm sick or something like that.
Mix up the feng shui a little bit.
We're just missing it. We're trying to figure out what works. We thought maybe you guys are like this one. Maybe you guys, I have no idea. But I guess this is a resounding, they hate it. They don't like it. They like us all at the desk. It's going to be one of two things, I think. They're all three of us sitting here, or it's going to be me sitting over there by myself. It's going to be one of those things. But we try to switch it up a little bit. You know what I mean? We just try to switch it up every day and, try to change the taste a little bit. I get it, but
a lot of space in this nice first-star logistics.
A lot of space.
We're just trying to make sure we utilize it.
People hate it. People are tired of seeing my face. So, I'll get up off and I'll do some more. We'll see. Somebody, Big Jim Slade, man, we haven't seen you in the comment section in a bit. Where you at? Where you been, brother? He says, no more fashion shows for Joe Burrow. He said, please, no more fashion shows. So, we'll change. Well, listen, we'll change it up. We'll change it up, and we'll make sure that going forward we don't we're not. So I don't know what the right setting is, but I feel like we'll find it.
You got to keep trying though.
But just so y'all know, we listen to you. We listen to you. We try and listen to you, and we try to we try to make sure it's we try to change up the feng shui of the show. Our guy Gary Jellison says the audio is great today.
Got you on the different headset. No
different.
Popping.
You don't got me. You got making a noise there. It's like that. So no, I think it's a pretty good setup. Hey, Marissa, let's jump to some questions if we got them. Yeah, we hear you out, guys. We hear you. Trust me, this is one of those shows where we're listening to you. You guys hate the setup. We'll keep it on this. Malik looks like a dictator in this setup. God damn, I don't want to be a dictator. Hope not. Hope I don't look like a dictator in this set. No, do not. Don't do that. Wow. So we'll change it up. We'll make sure it's something a little bit more we'll do something to make sure it's a little more favorable for you guys going forward. But I definitely don't want to look like I'm a dictator or bigger than these guys. This show isn't possible without my co-host. So absolutely love them. We're just always try to change something up and make it look fresh. We call us a little summer cleaning over here at the First Star Logistics Studio. So we'll figure it out. And guess what? As soon as we figure that out, we'll have to figure something out because Daniel's coming back. We'll figure something out because Daniel's coming back. And when Daniel gets back, it's going to be like...
He can be like the kid who always sits cross-legged in the front of the picture for grade school.
Literally.
He can just sit cross-legged there with his iPad in his lap, just looking up. He can be that guy.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I'm hearing a lot of dictator comments, man. I don't like that. I don't like that, man. I don't like that, man. Don't call me no dictator. I promise you, I'm better than that. I think I am. So guys, do me a favor. We only got one question so far, and I don't want to end the show early. We want to talk with you guys. We want to have these conversations. I understand it's the off season. Let's answer your questions. It could be about the Bengals. It could be about the NFL. It could be about the new NCAA football game coming out, which I can't wait to kick Evan's ass in. But one of the questions is from Gary Jellison, our guy. He says in the comment section, thoughts on the initial EA NCAA player your ratings. I actually did not see them. The only thing I did see was Shedeur Sanders is rated the best quarterback in the game.
Interesting.
Oh, I just want to say something before we touch on that. Who the hell cares if Arch Manning's in the game? I'm just being honest with you. I didn't care that Arch Manning was in the game, but apparently the guy was offered. No, let's keep it on the wide shot. Let's keep it on the wide shot. People were saying we look far away. Let's keep it on the wide shot. Let's stay on tax here. Thoughts on the Arch Manning announcing that he's in the game? To me, it doesn't. I didn't care. That didn't move me. But apparently, he got paid. They paid him like $50,000 or $60K plus $600.
I'm sure that means a lot to Arch Manning. Yeah, I'm sure they're a family destitute of wealth and I'm sure that $50K.
They're really struggling, huh?
Yeah, dropping the bucket, as they say, right?
Yeah. But no. What are your thoughts on What were your thoughts before we get to some of these questions? Our guy Benjamin Harrison said, let's talk about the defense. I'm guessing he wants to talk about the Bengals defense, but let's answer Gary's question. What were your thoughts on the player ratings? I don't know if any of you guys saw them, but more importantly, if you didn't see them, let's just talk about Shedeur Sanders being the highest rated quarterback in the game. Logan, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's kind of, I don't want to say it's funny, but it's kind of ironic, I guess, that Colorado has some of the highest players ratings in the game, and they won 4 games last year.
Right.
Like I get it. Like
star power to the max.
You know what I mean? Like I get it to a degree, but I don't think anybody out there really thinks Shedeur is the best quarterback in college football. I just don't really think people have that opinion. So it's just kind of weird to me that they come to that conclusion for the video game. Maybe they think it'll help them sell more, or whatever it is. But like it's a weird conclusion to come to, and I just, more power to him. We'll see. Maybe he's one of those guys that's a 93 and plays like a 84. You know what I mean? And you just hate playing with them, but they had to give him the overall boost for whatever reason. But I just don't know how you come to that conclusion.
Malik looks like he's an administrative assistant at a dental office. Why are you guys flaming me today? God damn, I'm getting chewed up, man. I'm taking L's everywhere. Guys, in a second, I'm about to come over there and sit by you. I mean, God, man, I'm getting flamed here, man. Is it, Marissa? I blame you. I blame you as the producer. You said, "Oh yeah, this looks good. This looks awesome." I really believed it looked good, and y'all sat up here and you guys let me think, "All right, this is gonna be the setup of the show today." Damn, I'm getting flamed. I'm getting cooked.
Got too many yes men around you, Malik. Don't worry, I'll always tell you no.
I know you always will. Well, Malik Wright is my last name, right? So that means I'm always right? So no.
Need the yin to your yang,
Let's get to some more questions. I'm not sure if we got them all up here. Benjamin Harrison, I know you said let's talk defense. What do you want to talk about the defense? I mean, if there's one thing that I will say is that I'm excited to see how the defensive line unit performs this year. I've kind of been yelling into a microphone. I don't know if people have been really listening to me, but I really am excited to see what this defensive line is going to look like. I'm really excited to see I'm really excited to see Joseph Ossai to see if he really steps up to the plate. But Miles Murphy, I almost said Max. I'm really excited to see Miles Murphy really, really do what he's got to do as well, man. So, what part of the defense? I already know what Evan's going to say. But what part of the defense that are you guys really looking forward to? I guess this upcoming season.
I think for me, I'm interested just to see how the safety rotation plays out. I think and I guess that applies just to the secondary in general, but there's just so many bodies. There's so many talented bodies. It's not like we're running out. We just have so many bad options. We have so many good options. We have so many different play styles, different strengths, different weaknesses that, and that's typically a positional group that you don't sub a lot. You don't typically run them in and out. And Lou even alluded to that. I believe it was last year, maybe the year before, talking about the rookies and stuff getting some playing time. But now, like it seems like you almost have to rotate them in and out. So I'm just kind of interested to see how the playing time works. Maybe matchup based, snap based, whatever it is. It's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out because there's too much talent for some of those people just simply not to play.
Yeah. Miles Murphy, man. I'm looking for him to take a step forward. A lot of times for defensive ends, it takes a year before they hit the ground running. It takes a lot of positions a year or two before you kind of figure things out. And we knew he was going to be more of the toolsy project guy coming in, which is why you got a person with his measurables and his athleticism as late as you did in the first round. That's why he wasn't a top 10 pick instead. So I'm very excited to see the strides he's taken. Working in the off season, definitely want to see how the safety rotation plays out. Bold take for the season, man. Look, you can't dodge the injury bug every single year, right? And as you get older, you break down, and especially some of these smaller guys, right? I think Mike Hilton might like sprain his ankle, something like, miss a game or two, and Dax Hill comes in to play that slot corner, his natural kind of role where he fits so well.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to thrive. I think he's going to look the best he's looked playing safety, whatever else. Like when he's been covering the tight ends, when he's been mixing it up at the line of scrimmage, blitzing, just allowed to just play with his athleticism, his size, all of his tangible traits that made him a first round pick. I really think that slot role naturally lends itself to his talents and his strengths. And right now, obviously, Mike Hilton's going to be starting and playing that, but you're always looking for this spot for Dax to fit. And it really feels like that slot corner role, kind of box guy role is just, it feels like it fits him so perfectly. And I would just love to see him get a real opportunity there.
I agree with you, man. We've got a question here from my guy, Sean Ross Sapp. He is truly the best of the best when it comes to the professional wrestling insider game. The dude is great at his profession. I hope to achieve what he has achieved in his profession and my profession. He says, Malik, what Bengals player makes the best pro wrestler? Let's go. Okay. That's a good question. I think the best Bengals player that make the best professional wrestler would have to be, give me you got to get personality with. You got to get somebody that could sell, somebody that could put asses into seats. I got juice. I think Cam Taylor Britt might make the best professional wrestler. The reason why is because, obviously professional wrestling, but I think you also have to be able to promote yourself. And you also have to be able to be exciting, and you have to make people pumped up about it. But I think that I could definitely see a scenario in which Cam Taylor Britt would make a great professional wrestler. I think if you're going for size and a guy, maybe you're just like, you don't have to be too good on the mic. Give me Miles Murphy. I think he's everything that you want. He'd be that big time wrestler, hit you with a big boot across the floor. That's a unique question. We've never got a question
I like it.
like that. I appreciate you, Sean, man. And make sure you DM me, brother, so we could talk. He's actually said he wants to come on the show. He doesn't live too far away. So he said he wants to come on the show. We wanted to get him on one of the we wanted to get him on for one of the war rooms, but the scheduling just didn't match up. But appreciate you, Sean. Somebody said, my question, Nick asked, he said, my question is, how soon are you getting back to a Reds game? I think you brought some good luck. So I'll tell you this right now. And maybe I shouldn't say this too loud, but I'll say it. I think I've been to, and Logan, you can correct me on this. I think that I've probably been to like 6 or 7 Reds games.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Maybe a little less. I don't know.
A little less.
I have never been to a game where the Reds lost. Every time I've gone to a Reds game, the Reds have won. I've yet to see what a Reds loss looks like. So if you're calling me good luck, I don't know if I want to say that too loud, put that kind of pressure on myself. But every single time I've ever went to a Reds game, they've won. So take that for what it is. And how soon? I don't know yet, man. I have no idea. We'll see. We'll see, man. We'll see what maybe is there an upcoming game you think I should go to, Logan? What's up? What's next on their schedule?
We got 2 more against Colorado today and tomorrow, and then the Marlins, and then it's the All-Star break for a little bit.
Colorado sucks.
So yeah, Miami's not very good either. Yeah. So nothing too much that I would tell you to go to, and then it's the All-Star break, and then enjoy the break, come home.
How about Reese, man?
That's-
Reese Hines, man. He's good,
I
man.
know.
He's really good, man.
I love.
Uh,
Don't get me talking baseball, Malik.
Yeah, man. We know you'll be here forever. You'll love it. Let's keep it going. Our guy Brandon says, "Do you think, regardless of player health, we will continue to have slow starts to the season without preseason participation?" Um, I certainly hope that the Bengals don't have slow
Yeah.
starts anymore. I really like to see that area corrected. If you come out with a slow start against the New England Patriots, those are one of those games where you're like, "This is a game we should win."
Mm-hmm.
If you come out week one and you lose to New England Patriots with a new quarterback, I'm not feeling I'm not feeling the best about things. I'll just put it to you that way. What do you guys think, Evan?
Yeah. I don't know. Look, the thing with the slow starts is there seems to be always a reason, right? There's always some sort of injury that's going on with Joe Burrow, but there's always going to be some sort of injury, some sort of. Now, obviously, it's more significant when it's to your quarterback, right? That's the only person who's worth multiple points when it comes to spreads or worth multiple wins above replacement, whatever you want to say, right? But yeah, it's tough to point to any one thing and be like, this is the reason, this is what they have to fix. There's always been something. And it's almost not even going back just the last like couple of years. It's even past that. They've had problems kind of starting slow out of the gate, looking a little sleepy, which is sometimes common for NFL teams as they try to gel. But I look at the returning of the offensive line as, hey, that's a constant.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, that's a constant. You're going to have him healthy with Jamar and with T. That is something that I can look at and say, hey, I can rely on that. And I think also there's a little bit of sometimes someone has to lose, right?
Mhm.
And they've had some tough matchups early on in the season, the last couple of years, and some that they absolutely should not have lost. But yeah, it comes back to offensive consistency. It also comes back a little bit to luck, right? Because we talk about all the time how it's a game of inches and it can come down to one play. But then when we say, hey, yeah, sometimes this game is just luck, it's like, well, that's disrespectful to the players and their talent. It's like, no, they're all just so talented that one little small play can make that difference, right? So I think you'll probably see the luck the same way you kind of do with one score games year to year change a lot, right? Maybe this is the year that they kind of start off well, even if they don't look 100% like, oh, they're a well-oiled machine. They still find ways to win games as other teams make more mistakes, as other teams deal with injuries, as opposed to the Bengals dealing with that.
So we got a question here from Matthew Heitzman. He says, what position are you guys personally excited to see get work when training camp starts the next couple weeks? I'll say this. I think anytime you watch cornerback, wide receiver, that's a given. Those are the most you kind of get the most out of. You don't really see too much from running backs, if you will, that are just like, oh, that's eye catching.
You need genuine tackling, right? For
yeah.
offensive line play and all that, right?
Mhm.
Like
But
that's.
I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. I'm gonna tell all you guys a little secret that I haven't told anybody. I actually hate training camp. I hate it. I understand they need it, obviously.
Yeah.
But to me, I always hold my breath during training camp because I hate non-contact injuries. I just hate people pulling hamstrings. I don't care about the flat. Please, let's get through a training camp where nobody gets hurt, where nobody, pulls a muscle, where nobody has to miss time, where nobody's getting carted off the field. So honestly, this next couple week stretch where training camp is going on, I hold my breath. I hold my breath always. I'm just like, okay, did anybody go down? No. Okay. And if they did go down, was it just a cramp because it was hot outside? Okay, good. I always hate this time of the year for the entire league, not just the Bengals, for the entire league. I just don't like seeing players go down.
It's a stressful time because as soon as something happens, you just instantly freak out. You go right to the worst, and there's so much time to, it feels like they're taking forever to let you know what happens. But in reality, they're just sitting over there resting or whatever, and then all of a sudden they're fine, or all of a sudden they're out for the season. And there's just so much up and down, anxiety-driven times, and it gets stressful.
Listen, I want to see the best face the best in the league, right? It doesn't matter if it's Bengals or some another team. I want to see the best face best, and you don't get that obviously if players are going down in training camp before that. So if there was a way we could wrap them all up in bubble and kind of just have a safe training camp, I'd prefer that. But I understand you got to get the work, and I understand these guys got to knock off the rust, if you will, before you actually get into a little bit of preseason, before you get into the real thing. So it's one of those things where you kind of got to take the good with the bad. You got to realize it's part of the game, it's part of the sport. Damn, I sound like Evan right now. Let me change. Go to the next topic. I don't like that sound. Just I spend too much time with Evan, man. I sound just like him just now. But Hunter Morris, our guy. Hunter, I haven't seen in a while, bud. Hope all is well, man. It's like, what are your thoughts on the Jets O line? They are trying to say the Jets are a Super Bowl contender but I think that O line has the potential to be a disaster. So let me say this: I think that anytime you have a new quarterback or newish quarterback who's coming off of destroying his Achilles, and Aaron Rodgers, and he's in New York, he's going to get hyped. He's going to get hyped up more than it probably should. I don't believe in Robert Saleh. Just to be honest with you guys, I don't believe him as a coach. I think that Aaron Rodgers is a fine quarterback, but if Aaron Rodgers was so amazing, which I do think he is amazing, but if he was just like the one missing piece for the Jets that they were missing all this entire time, and he's automatically going to have those guys in Super Bowl contention, it's like, all right, well, the guy's made one Super Bowl in his entire career. We haven't seen him really do much since, besides a couple playoff appearances, maybe a win or two here and there. Not maybe a win or two. He's definitely won in the playoffs, but it hasn't really gone deep. Hasn't really gone deep, right? It's kind of their ceiling's been that NFC Championship, I would say, at points and times. But I think Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. I think he's going to get more wins out of them, more wins than they had last year. And I just I don't believe in the paper talk. I don't believe in counting people beforehand. I think that their offensive line is an issue, but I also do wonder, is Aaron Rodgers completely healed as well? Because we saw some tape coming out of him already holding, the bag of his leg and missing time. And
imagine if you signed, let's say Lyle Collins, right? Like maybe a better Lyle Collins, a little bit better. And then you relied on that at two spots on your offensive line at tackle. I feel like that's what they're doing, right? You're taking the gamble of, hey, Tyron Smith, you were really good for the Cowboys for a long time. You've dealt with injuries, but when you are healthy, you're pretty dang good. Morgan Moses, you're 33. You have been around. You've been competent. But again, 33 years old, can you stay healthy, maintaining that size? Can you stop from losing that step? Can you prevent that for one more year? And I like Elijah Vera Tucker. I don't think he's panned out to be quite the player that we thought he was going to be. And then you've got a second-year center in Joe Tippmann, which probably doesn't matter as much when you got a guy like Aaron Rodgers at center. But this is not like, oh, there's at least one like stalwart that you can point to. There's no Laramie Tunsil, no anchor, no island that you can point to say, hey, this is a reason I feel like I have confidence. It feels like you're almost waiting for the shoe to drop at 5 positions, and it comes back to like when you're blocking a run play. It only takes one person to completely blow it for the entire thing to crumble, right?
I think their O-line in general, there's just so many ranges of outcome for them. If they stay healthy on paper, like that's a pretty solid line, but the odds of that happening are slim. But it's like the odds that it does, then it's like, sure.
It's like you got a dice and you're like, hey, if I have to roll the dice one time for one player who's a chance and I have to get an odd number, right? Okay, that I feel pretty good about that, right? But then you have to do it for 3 positions, 4 positions. Now you have to roll the dice 3 or 4 times, and that's the odds.
Yeah, I mean, they got Olu on the bench too. I mean, like there's just so many questions. That doesn't mean the line won't answer them per se, because there is some talent, there is some decent history there with the line. But there's so many questions about it. And again, that doesn't mean it'll be a bad thing, but it's gonna be tough.
We have a comment from Pete Carley. I think he kind of take our positioning a little bit incorrect, if would say. He says, if Joe can come back from a torn ACL with a weak line, so can Rodgers.
I want to go ahead.
I'll just say this. Here's one thing. And Crypt Keeper, I'm about to block you in a second. Keep on. But he says if he said what he said about Joe, Aaron Rodgers coming back. I'll say this. I think people forget to realize Aaron Rodgers has dealt with Achilles injuries for like the last couple of years. This isn't a thing that has just happened.
Is a severe one.
This is a severe one where it actually got popped. But this has been an ongoing thing with his for actually a while, even when he was with the Packers, where he actually missed time due to his Achilles injury on several occasions. And it's been a thing that reared its head a couple of times. So at that point, do you remember when AJ Green kept dealing with his calf strains over and over with Cincinnati? I do wonder at what point in time does it become like a thing where it's like, especially being an older player at this point in time, right? Even though he's not necessarily older as a
that's the thing, right? One of those
player.
Guys is 27, and the other is 40, right? That's the first difference, okay?
First large difference.
That's the giant difference there. Second of all is how you approach rehab, right? Because even doctors talked about Joe Burrow's injury with people who don't get surgery right away or don't go to rehab right away. That's where you start to risk long-term effects, long-term injury, lack of range of motion, lack of blood flow to that area. Aaron Rodgers was sprinting through the rehab because remember there was that push. Oh, well,
Maybe I can come
he
back.
he might be able to
Which
come
was
back from the
crazy.
ACL in December if they can make the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers can make my fucking ass, dude. You can't come back from a torn Achilles in 3 months, in 4 months, and play football at a high level when you're already 40. Like, just people don't do that. You don't
Yeah.
play good football on the Achilles. You can't even use your calf. You can't even use your leg.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
we had Cam Akers who tore his Achilles early in the training camp and then played again down the stretch, and he had a couple good games. But look at him now; he's toast already.
And so the long term effects of him rushing through that rehab, I don't think he's going to come back as clean as he would have if they would have immediately said, shut it down. Don't rush things. Don't just shoot it up with a bunch of painkillers and keep trying to test it and push and
He's probably
push.
doing that for fun anyway.
Take your time, do it right. That would have been much more beneficial in the long term. So, like when we're comparing those situations, I say one rehab was approached a lot more dutifully, right? One rehab was approached a lot more seriously with a long-term plan in mind. The other one was rushed and has a person who's older and, like you said, dealt with those injuries. You just don't bounce back as fast, man. And like, there's just not as much to you as well. Like Kobe Bryant talked how even before the end of his career, last 3-4 years, his knee was basically bone on bone because you had worn the cartilage so thin. Like your tendons, your cartilage, all this wears away bit by bit with how much pressure and strain you're putting on it. So, like, yeah, between all those reasons, man, I think it's erroneous to compare the two situations that way.
Um, so one thing I will say really quickly, from our guy Gary Jellison, he asked, I'm gonna speak to some of your questions as well. And Crib Keeper, I was kidding with you too, brother. You didn't have to retract those statements. I'm just playing, having a little friendly banter back and forth with you. Don't be offended. But Gary Jellison says, "What assistant coaches will we lose next year? Pitcher Waller, Walters, Lou, or other?" I think Troy Walters. I think Troy Walters starts getting heavy consideration for offensive coordinator responsibilities, especially if Jermaine Burton has a season I think he's going to have as a rookie coming into the league. You could always obviously miss out on Dan Pitcher if he really impresses. You know, Um, they're really promoting offensive coordinators in the National Football League at a rapid pace, and this is a guy in Dan Pitcher who's been already been turning a lot of heads. Fun fact, I want to tell you guys this. I don't know who it is, but there's someone in the Buccaneers offense. I don't want to say assistant coach, but they look just like Dan Pitcher. I mean, no, to the T. To the T. I'll have to tell you the story, but I introduced myself when we were at the combine, and this guy like literally looked like like Daniel and Marissa were both like, yeah, that's Dan Pitcher, and I was like, I had the embarrassing moment where I introduced myself, and I was like, hey Dan, well, congratulations on the job. He's like, you think I'm Pitch, right? I was like, yeah, Dan Pitcher. He's like, everybody keeps coming up to me telling me I look like Dan Pitcher. He's like, that's not me, but thank you. It was the most embarrassing moment, man. But this dude looked like him to us. Like, I mean, the gray beard, the whole 9 yards with black accent. I mean, it was crazy. It was pretty insane. But Troy Walters is a guy that I think is probably more likely to get garner that kind of attention, kind of get that praise. Offensive coordinator, especially if you're kind of newer in the league, they always wait like a year, maybe 2 years to see if like you can replicate that success. Yeah. Dave Canales is a guy that I think that the Panthers owner, to be honest with you, he just needed a guy to hire. Not a lot of people want to touch that job with
a 10-foot pole.
10-foot pole. There we go.
They're not even interested.
Yeah. And so like they had to do something. But yeah, I definitely could see Troy Walters. Anybody got any hot names there?
I think that's the one to go to.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. Want to keep going to some quick questions really quick before we head out of here. Do you think we see Burrow play in the preseason? I think Evan and me kind of talked about this a little bit. I think we see Joe Burrow has entered the football game. Handoff, done out of the game. Maybe you see him throw a screen to a Shedrick Jackson. I have no idea. Would love to see that in regular season. But yeah, maybe you see something like that. Which home game? Davis Martin, my guy, man. Also, welcome to the Midwest, man. No, he just moved to Indy. He's like, which home games are y'all most excited to attend this season? The Eagles game. I can't wait to see Eagles versus Bengals, mainly because I have a lot of friends in the Philadelphia area, obviously being from New Jersey, and they talk a lot of crap. And they think that Jalen Hurts is the second best quarterback in the league behind Patrick Mahomes. And yeah, we'll see about that. I don't want to butcher your name, Joe Jacqueline Hyde, I think, says, "Do you think the loss of Callahan from Cleveland is going to impact them more than folks think? Seems like no one is talking about it, but everyone talks about the loss of Callahan from Cincinnati." Yeah, I do think that. I think that he was the most impactful coach on that Browns roster, which is why they blocked him several times from interviewing the other positions, and why they gave him extensions, and why they wanted to keep an offensive line coach in the fold. You've never seen a team go to that extent to keep an offensive line coach. This is a guy that everything he touches turns to absolute gold on the offensive line front. I think that Bill Callahan is going to be sorely missed over in Cleveland. What do you guys think?
Assistant coaches
Yeah.
are the biggest edge in the NFL that you
Yep.
can have.
Mhm.
Low key, they don't count against the salary cap. You can hire all the best, and we know what guys like Mike Munchak and Dante Scarnecchia and Bill Callahan. We know that these guys have found success in developing these fourth round, third round, fifth round talents, right, and turning them into capable starters, and getting the most out of these guys, and getting very good run fits and very good run schemes, and just putting it all together really well. So yeah, I think it's very underrated when you lose a very talented assistant coach. Even when we're talking about Troy Walters again, like how many receivers have walked in here in the last 4 or 5 years, and they found ways to make them successful by helping them do things that they're really good at. So I think that speaks volumes.
And the last question we'll get to before we head out of here was from 619 Bengals fan. I also assume you're a Rey Mysterio fan. Says, "Do you think Amarius Mims will eventually start this season? I could see a scenario in which, a lot like we saw early on, and again, Evan is always reminding me, Malik, it's just the guys in shorts. Don't put too much into it. Don't put too much stock into it."
That's the other thing I
But
hate about training. You were talking about
yeah,
training camp earlier. That's what I hate, because like Mike Hilton will get like a veteran rest day, and then Dax will be in, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, Dak getting first team reps over first team reps." Dear
Yeah,
God, fucking mute
yeah.
first team reps. Do yourself a favor, just mute that fucking phrase on
Uh,
Twitter. Like,
but the thing is, he said he was asking that question, and uh so sorry, he asked the question. He asked the question, "Do you think Amarius Mims will start?" So I could see a scenario in which they put Trent Brown out there right guard. Maybe, maybe, maybe. I could see that. Maybe. It'll be interesting. I think it's in the Bengals' best interest to put their best starting 5 offensive linemen out there. And if they leave training camp feeling that that is the best unit, then that's something that I could see that could work for them. Now, what I think happens, I think Trent Brown starts the season as the right tackle. I think Alex Cap is the right guard. I think Cordell is the left guard. I think everybody slots in the rest of the way that they are. I wouldn't put too much stock in that. Now, could he see his playing time if Trent Brown goes down and then he goes down there and he plays
and that is
kick ass?
very likely.
That is very likely.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That is something that we could see happening. But right now, I'll just say let's play it by ear. Let's play it by ear and see what happens. Listen, that's all the time that we have here for today. Gary Jellison says Marissa needs to drop seating charts for next week. Yeah, let us know down in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys like us all at the desk? Do you like me sitting over there? Do you like the guys at the desk? Let me know. We're open to feedback. Remember, this is State of the Jungle. It's like a State of the Union address. Like, we want to do what's best for you guys, and whatever you guys appeal to a little bit more, that's what we will do. So Michael Rolfe, I'm sorry, I'll get to your question quick. Thoughts on the Giants Hard Knock season? Be honest with you, I only saw that one little clip. I think that the Giants, everything in New York is obviously bigger than, you know, other teams, if you will. So I know you said that they were giving a little bit more access than probably teams have in the past. I've kind of got to sit down and really give it a watch to see what's going on outside of that clip that's going viral on Twitter. I haven't really given it my thoughts. I will give you my true, sincere thoughts on it next week. What I think about Giants training camp. I'll make sure I do that. Somebody says all together at the desk. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of State of the Jungle with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. We appreciate you guys for joining us for another episode. We hope that you guys join us next Wednesday, 7 p.m., same time, same crew, same place. Make sure you guys subscribe to the First Star Media Group. Catch In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, Bengals on the Brand with Joe Goodberry, State of the Jungle with Malik Wright. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have